Robert? Yeah, I sent you a new link. Okay. Let me try again. Hold on. Alright, cut. Okay, let me see what's up now. Oh, there you are.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? Hold on. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Okay, I'm going to hang on 1 second because I'm going to ask other people if they can hear you. Andy, go ahead and talk and let me see if I can hear you.
Hello? All right.
There you are.
You hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Okay, so hang on. I'm going to grab this event. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Hang on. So I got to go to... We got to go to the other page now. Well, just hang on, because I'm gonna.
Thank you.
You bet. I'm gonna click on events here. We should find a new one for you, and then I can plug that into. Okay, 4 o'clock. All right. Here's what I need you to do. Oh, you already sent it to me. Hang on. I grab this link. And then I go over here.
I guess I'm not so Asian after all.
That was funny. Let me see. 404. Let me see which one. Oh, that would be me. Then I'm going. Here is new link. Okay, so I'm waiting for him to reboot. Okay, I'm going to put here is new link. Now what I'm going to do is I just gave them the link to go to this one.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I can press press. Oh, it's live already. So we've been talking for a while, and we'll just go from here. Okay, perfect.
Cool.
All right, man. So you can act like we're starting like right now or whatever.
Okay. Cool. Well, everyone, thank you again for coming together and joining me on this call, this hangout. And I know there was some technical difficulties, but supposed to show that I'm not your typical Asian, that I can't really get this stuff, ready to go, even when it's funny how the devil likes to give me stuff to handle when I'm trying to get this thing done right here, right now, Robert. So it's crazy, but my first show today, it's really cool because I get the chance to actually interview a gentleman by the name of Robert Hollis. And it's funny, Robert, when I was promoting the call today, and a top leader from another company actually says Robert who, and I guess that like Jim Rohn said, that I thought you were more famous than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, without further ado, I would like to turn, just introduce the man himself, the myth, the man, the myth, the legend, Robert Hollis. Hi,
Well,
Robert.
Well, Andy, I really, really appreciate you doing this. And one of the things that a lot of people probably don't know is that you and I have been friends for years. And I met you through my son, and I just think you're an incredible individual. And I know you got a wonderful heart. You love helping people, and so I think it's awesome for us to finally do this interview because I definitely know that you have a humongous network. So I'm looking forward to doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Robert, to take your time out of a busy day over in Montana to do this for me. But for those that don't know you, they either have been under a rock or living on Mars. Can you please tell everyone about your story, where you came from, and how you got to where you're at today?
Yeah, it was a really, really simple. I know even when I spoke at the last GoPro events, you know what I mean? There was so many people there that I didn't know either. So, it just goes to show that the marketing industry, especially the network marketing industry, $158 billion. We were figuring out with Eric Worre, can you imagine this for a second? Do you imagine people say, well, no one makes any money in those things. Well, if you took all the $1 million earners and then you took all the people that made six figures, you're probably going to take $3 billion out of that 71 or 72 billion that's paid out in commissions away. So that means that there's over $70 billion a year, $70 billion that's paid out to people like you and I. So for people that say, no one makes any money, that's a little wrong. But my story really quickly is simply I just went out and did what everybody told me to do. I decided to go to a trade school because I didn't think I was that smart, and ended up being an auto mechanic. And so, I was raising my son, Robert Hollis Jr., and all of a sudden I got hurt, put on workman's comp, and the next thing I know is I don't know how to support my family. I feel totally worthless. I don't know what I'm going to do. And everybody talks about that pop that happened, so all of a sudden, like Jim Rohn says, I'm not living like this anymore. And of course what Jim Rohn said is he lied to a Girl Scout. What was for me it was for me trying to explain to my son why I wasn't parking at our apartment complex. So we were driving home, and I pull over the shoulder of the road, and Robert Hollis Jr., my son, said, Dad, if you go up a couple blocks, hang a left, our apartment building's right there on the right. And I just didn't say anything. I just started walking with him, and I've never felt so worthless in my life. It was like I lost everything. I had pawned my toolbox. When you're a mechanic and you pawn your toolbox, you're done. I mean, there's no way that you can go work for somebody and ask somebody else to borrow their tools. And I basically had gotten a pawn loan on this piece of junk Celica that I had. So I was late on the payments on that. They told me I'd only be out like 6 months with my knee. And after 6 months, they had to redo the surgery and told me I was going to be out for another 6 months. And so now I found myself no way to support my son. I was getting kicked out of my apartment. And I just, man, I got to find a way. And I know that, I don't care if this offends people. I'm sorry that if it does. But, I got down on the one knee that I had left, and I just screamed for help. I just said, God, you got to help me. There's got to be something better than this. And a friend called me up. I put his name in my book, Sean Hennigan. And I will mention his name I've mentioned his name for 27 years. And I finally tracked him down and got a picture with him. But Sean actually was dating my cousin, and I met him only I think a couple times at the at a barbecue and family functions. And he called me up and he called me Bobby, mechanic. And he said, Bobby, listen. He said, have you ever heard of Amway? And I said, no. And he says, well, it's nothing like Amway and it's legal. So for people that are watching this, I have a statement that some people need to understand. You can't say the wrong thing to the right people. See, it didn't make a difference what he said to me, Andy. And I said, Sean, what the hell are you talking about? Well, I don't get it. What are you talking about? And he says, well, listen, I met this guy named Bill Gould, and he had a check for $62,000, and it was still attached to the stub. And he asked me if I knew anyone that could help him expand his company in this area. So I need to find people that would like to meet him. I said, I'll freaking come pick you up. And so we went down there. I tried to act sort of skeptical. You know what I mean? I had long hair, a mullet, you know, beard, leather jacket, drove motorcycle every day back and forth to work. And I sat in the very back, and I took the chair in front of me and spun it around, put my legs up on it, and put my arms back like this, like, show me. And after he did the presentation, I was upset because everything that he was saying was making sense to me. I've never heard it before. You know, you might as well start your own pyramid. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, build your own pyramid. That, you know, only 3% of the people in the world are actually making it. You know, that you go from take products and services from manufacturers that make them and create them and get them to the end user, cutting out the middleman and putting money in our pocket. And I was watching this whole thing, and I was going like, this is freaking amazing. I can actually buy something at wholesale, sell it at retail, and be able to feed me and my son, be able to stay in our apartment. And so I said, man, I'm in. And I'll never forget, I was sort of skeptical. And I probably would go more in depth with my story with you, Andy, than anybody. But he walked up to me, and again, he said to me, he goes, well, how long you had a cast on your leg? And I said, well, you know, I'm going on my, you know, my 7th, 8th month now. And he goes, wow, what does workman comp pay nowadays? You know, so he's a little more aware than I was. And I said, well, $900 a month. And he goes, $900 a month times 8 months. He goes, how far are you in debt before you lose everything? And I went, if I don't come up with $3,800 by the end of this month, I'm going to lose everything. And he goes, well, he said, I could show you how to make $3,800 before the end of the month. He said, but first you got to make a decision to get in. And turned around and walked away from me, Andy. And I grabbed my crutches. And chased his ass down, man. I was like, okay, you got to show me how to do this. And that was 27 years ago, $43 million ago. You know, now helped over 45 people make over $1 million a year. My biggest organizations is, you know, 720,000 people. I've had my organizations in 11 countries, and now speaking on stages all over the world. And man, it's just it's been a heck of a roller coaster for the last 27 years for sure.
Jeez, man. And so I'm pretty sure when that whole thing happened with your son and driving a car, you know, to a certain spot where they can't see your car. So when do you say that will be the major turning point in your life?
Yeah. I wouldn't say the major one. But it was a big one. It was a huge one. I tell people I'm not ashamed in any way, shape, or form. When I was 13 and going through a lot of stuff in my life, not having any parents, you know, someone shared with me that there was a guy out there that could take care of me named Jesus, and I took that on. So that would probably be like one of the ultimate ones. And then, of course, the birth of, you know, my son, Junior, and then Matthew and Kyle, my other 2 sons, the birth of Ryder, that was pretty huge. You know, but yeah, it definitely is up there in the top 5 without a shadow of a doubt.
Wow. So I know that you've been in this industry profession for a long time, and I've been in it for close to 10 years. Actually, next month is 10 years. Wow. Everybody that I meet with or talk to back in the ACN days and Filelinks and Gano Excel days and Gano Live days, and talk about a gentleman by the name of Bill Gold. And I know that you were one of the 7 knights of the round table. Now, how was the experience to working with Mr. Bill Gold, legendary himself? Was it tough? Was it crazy? Was it? How was it?
At the beginning, I got something quick to show you. I was thinking about this interview with you. And I don't think a lot of people have this. A lot of people probably say, a lot of people probably say that they've worked with him, but you know, when you take the time to get a professional photograph with him, you know, that he paid for, then maybe you really worked for him. Because I know there's yeah, you know how to make things grow, right, Andy? You either throw fertilizer on it or you tell somebody in network marketing. And so there's a lot of people out there that say, you know, I worked with Bill Gold, but, you know, hey, whatever. But the one thing that when I first met him, he didn't have any jewelry. He didn't have a new suit. He didn't have anything. He borrowed a car when I first seen him do his first presentation. And something happened to Herbalife in 1985. Mark Hughes decided he was going to fight the government. And a lot of people don't know that the year before that, Herbalife was the #1 fastest growing company in the world. There was people in LA that were driving around that had bumper stickers on and said, you know, if you want to get involved in Herbalife, honk your horn, and people were signing people up on the side of the freeway. It was growing that fast. And all of a sudden, you know, the government told Mark Hughes that he had to put his ingredients on the back of the bottles that we all know every product has now. But at the beginning, the FDA was trying to get people to put the percentage of each ingredient. And Mark Hughes goes, that's giving away my formulation. I'm not doing that. So he fought the government, and the government, of course, he was on the news everywhere. And people don't know this, but Mark Hughes beat the government. He beat the government, but he lost the, you know, he won the battle, lost the war. There was so much bad publicity out there about Herbalife, the government going after him, that a lot of leaders left Herbalife, one named Jeffrey Birdie, which was Bill Gould's upline, and a lot of those leaders left Herbalife and went to NSA, National Safety Associates. So Jeffrey Birdie went over there, and of course Bill Gould made his mind up that he wasn't going to go over right away. He was just going to hang in. You know, while they're moving seats around on the Titanic, Bill said that if you want to see the movie The Titanic, that he was the violin player. he was just staying in as long as he possibly could while the ship was going down. And when he couldn't take it anymore, he finally left Herbalife and went over and signed up under Jeffrey Birdie. And so I was one of the first 22 people that he had in his organization. And so it was awesome hanging around him because the guy just worked 8 to faint. I got to work side by side with even Jeffrey Birdie for a while and see how many people these guys peaked today when all we had was a telephone. Was unbelievable. Can you imagine no cell phone and no internet? And I watched these guys talk to 200 people a day. I mean, just wham, 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 wham. And just, you know, piquing their interests, inviting them down. Some will, some won't. So what next? And I got to see that whole thing happen. So in the beginning years, Andy, it was amazing watching him because all I had to do was get excited and throw people in front of him, and he was mentoring and training people the same time he was doing it with me. Jeez. So that's how I was able to make $1 million before the age of 30, and I even figured out I made $4.5 million in the 7 years that I worked with Bill Gould.
7 years, my gosh, wow.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, I remember seeing the his first training video about, you know, is this simple? Can I do it? You know, all the 3 questions that he asks all the time, and I think I saw you in the front row with a mullet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mustache. You had the mustache and the mullet, you know, and I had the first jacket that I bought was not even a suit. It was one of those jackets that had like the patches on the elbows. I don't know if you've seen them. I don't even know. To show you how much of a fashion guy I am, I don't even know what that kind of jacket's called.
I don't know either. I'm a little younger.
But you've seen them. It's like a sportsman jacket, and they got like I don't know, like buckskin or something on the elbows. I don't know.
I think they still have that these days. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. But so I know this question is gonna be hit a lot of people's nerves. You know, you talk about your maker a lot, and that's pretty cool. And can you explain why? When people are, let's say, suffering financially, physically, emotionally, just in all areas of life, they ask for God's help. But when they get to a comfortable point of their life, a position and power, and they make a lot of money, and then they edge God out.
Yep. What I think people do is we all, you know, there's probably a lot of people that watch this video for whatever reason are not believers, and you know, that's why it's cool to be in a place where I have incredible tolerance for people that don't believe. But one thing that I always seem to find out is that, you know, the people that claim to be liberals and also people that are always fighting for people's, you know, people's tolerance are usually the most untolerated people. You know, they're the ones that as soon as you want to claim your faith or say why you're successful, they want to blast you. You know what I mean? And they're teaching tolerance, you know. So I don't have anything against any religion. I just know that for me, in the darkest times of my life, when I didn't have anybody, you know, I cried out to somebody, and I know they're there for me. You know, so one of the things that I've been very conscious of, Andy, in my entire life is that, you know, I tell people my life is pretty simple. You know, I read the Bible, and I just believe in the simple principles. And the simple principles, and one of my favorite scriptures is, if you pull close to me, I'll pull close to you. Mm. And so people that on a daily basis are not spending interrupted time with their Creator always seems to try to lean on them when things are going bad, when they haven't spent time with them up to this point. So me, I know there's times that I've messed up in my life where, you know, believe it or not, you're talking about ego. When I moved from North Dakota to California, and I'm working for Roger Penske, and I'm working for the Toyota Research Development Team, and I'm an ASE Master Automotive Technician, and I'm 25 years old and making, you know, 50 grand and traveling all over the place with professional race car drivers. You know what? My ego couldn't have fit in that house. And when I got hurt, that's when I realized, oh my God, I can't even remember the last time I prayed. I couldn't even remember the last time that I spent any time, you know, in thought or meditation and prayer. But it sure was funny that even though I hadn't done it and I sort of lost my way, the second that I prayed, it was within 4 days that I got a call from Sean Hennigan. You know, some people, when they cry out for help, and really, really want help, and they humble themselves, sometimes they get calls and they still ignore them. You know, you ever heard the story where, oh, now the volume went, oh, you muted by accident. Oh, okay, there you go. You hear me now?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. But one of the things that was, you ever hear the story where the guy, you know, believed that God called him to build a church, and then it decided to flood? Yeah. You know, it's that whole story where, you know, so the guy was called to build the church, and all of a sudden everybody came up to him and said, you know, that it's flooded. And I see you muting in and out. I don't know what you're pressing, maybe on the headphones or something.
No, I'm trying to get my cord, my computer cord. That's why. That's all.
Oh, okay. And so what? You know, the whole story really quickly for those that probably have already heard it is that you know, you got the whole scenario where all of a sudden the cop cars come up and they say, hey, listen, you know, you got to get going. It's going to flood. And the water gets higher, and then all of a sudden he's in the second-story window, and a boat comes up and says to him, hey, listen, you know what? You got to go. It's got to flood. And then the next thing, he's standing on the roof of his church, and he's going, hey, you know, I know God has called me to do this. I'm going to hang in forever. And a helicopter comes over and says, listen, Pastor, you got to go. And he says, no. And the end of the story is he's dead, and he's standing in front of the pearly gates, and he's going, you know, you called me to build the church there. And I yelled out for you, and you didn't do anything for me. You let me drown. And he said, well, who do you think sent the cops, the boat, and the helicopter? It's like, so, you know, just because God's called you to do something doesn't mean he's not calling you to do something else.
Yeah. Man, that's a great answer to that question, by the way. It's incredible. Okay, how do you define a network marketing professional? Not poser, not amateur, professional.
A professional for me is probably going to be a lot different than people think. A professional for me is a person that's making a full-time income. A full-time income. A professional for me is someone that, you know, and this will be different for everybody that watches this video. Let's say that someone's watching this video, and for whatever reason they're single. They're single. They don't have a wife. They don't have any kids. They might be living with a couple of roommates, you know, and you know, the only amount of money that they need is maybe $1,500 a month. And just so they don't have to go get a job and they can do this full time, to me, is a professional. Now, what I always see that people do is, remember, Andy, that we always did that whisper down the lane where, you know, that person knows 100% and it goes all the way down. What I see happening, and it's really made me think of this in the last 2 years, see, just because you know how to make $1,500 a month doesn't mean you know how to teach somebody how to make $1,500 a month. So you can be a professional network marketer because you make a full-time income. It doesn't make you a mentor. It doesn't make you an expert. It doesn't make you a trainer. So a network marketing professional could be making $2,000 or $5,000 a month. They don't have a job anymore, and they're making $60,000 a year learning. They're a professional, but they still need to learn the skill set. This is important. They still need to, because there's a different skill set at $2,500 or $5,000 a month than there is at $25,000 a month or $100,000 a month. That's a whole different skill set. That'd be like, you know, saying every basketball player that's a professional is like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. They're not. People don't realize that the majority of the professional athletes make, you know, around $150,000 to $200,000 a year. It's only the really good professionals that make the $1 million a year. But here's a point that people don't get, and it's got to be, if people start getting this as a difference, what happened to me and why they might be struggling in this profession, is if you can't duplicate yourself, if you can't teach somebody else to make the money that you're making, then you're always going to be stuck at that position. But here's where the frustration comes in, and people quit. It's like, okay, so if they're making $2,500 and they're calling themselves a professional because they don't have to get a job, great. But who have you taught in your organization to make $2,500? Because if you, depending on your compensation plan, if you had 5 to 6 people in your group that were also making $2,500 a month because you had that skill set to teach them how to do it, then you would be making $5 or $10 grand a month. So I always see these people that they might have fluctuations, you know. So one month they're making $2,000, one month they made $10,000. Why? Because they found a person, they had a center of influence, everyone got excited, and their check went up because of all the upfront money, right? Well, then they didn't take that person that came in, and they don't have the skill set to teach that person how to replace their income. Or the people underneath them. So then what they do is they disappear, and then the person's check goes down, and then they got to start all over. So you see them frustrated, struggling. They get one person. It becomes exciting for a while. It even becomes fun for a while. Then they don't get that person locked in. They don't get duplication underneath them. That person leaves, goes to another company, or quits the profession altogether, and now they got to do it again. And now they got to do it again. And they just keep doing that. If you know a little bit about my career in the last, 7 years or 6 years, and I'm a direct correlation of being able to have 5 or 6 people in one leg and 7 people in another leg that make over $10,000 a month every month. If you got that many people in each leg in my kind of compensation plan, like a binary, you got it. You don't have to go out and grab another leg and build it again. So, so that was a great question, because a professional to me is somebody that is got themselves. I'll tell you what it's like. I got a great analogy for you. It's like a high school professional, a high school basketball player, football player, baseball player, getting called in and getting a scholarship to go to college. Does not make you a pro, but oh my God, I got a free ride and I'm doing what I love to do. That's a great analogy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you go from college to professionals. I can guarantee you, if you found someone right now that was a professional basketball, baseball, football player, soccer, whatever, race car driver, and they're making $150,000, $200,000 a year, but they love what they do, and no one knows who in the hell their name is. That's still a professional. That's a happy mofo.
Yeah. You know, it's funny how when there's some people they make, let's say, $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and they would call themselves a professional, and they will have a huge ego, whoop-de-da, look at me, promote me, but then in the downline, no one is making that, but they're continuing to cheer for him because he said, cheer for me, I can make it happen for you, but he doesn't do anything. It's funny.
Well, and I don't know why people have to do that. I was lucky because, and when I mean lucky, is Bill Gould as my mentor, you had no choice. If you did not follow his system, he would even say this. So say I'm part of the Andy Chow marketing company, right? If I didn't follow exactly what Andy did, then he would tell you, listen, you're no longer part of Andy Chow marketing and you can just be a Gano Life rep. See what I mean? But you're not involved in anything we're doing anymore. So for 7 years, Andy, I was piquing interest, getting people excited, stuffing them in his trainings. So imagine that, all the people that I've taught, that you know, from Mike and Tony Kupas with ACN, or David Rutz with the Free Network, and 19 Isle, you know what I mean, Todd Falcone, all these people, were in that organization, and I had no choice but to promote him.
That's a good idea, though.
Yeah, but in other companies, what people do is they get in and they get a check and they get a full-time income one time, and now they're going to teach their group. And here's where you can always tell. Here's where you can always tell where people's egos are messed up. When the words come out of their mouth, my people. These are my people. That almost sounds like an emperor. You know what I mean? It's like, well, my people. You know what I mean? Jeez.
Yeah, like shotgun style for sure. Kill me, please. So, we have all heard, well, not all of us, but you've heard about the 90-day game plan. Eric Ward talks about it. Roberto talks about it. Everybody talks about a 90-day game plan. Can you, for those that don't know what that means, can you define what is a 90-day game plan and say how many times have you gone through it in your career of network marketing and direct sales, and what was each time's result and how did it make you feel?
Okay. One of the things that's cool about the 90-day game plan is I always thought it was a 30-day blitz instead of a 90-day blitz. But when I explain my 30-day blitz, you're going to see why it turns into a 90-day game plan or a 90-day blitz. Here's the raw numbers. There's a lot of people out there that say they do a lot of stuff, but, Eric brought this up recently with another guy that was there named Jordan Adler. He's been with Send Out Cards now for 10 years, makes $80,000 a month. And everyone talks about that you have to do home meetings, that you have to do 3-ways, that you have to do all this stuff. But here's what professionals do. Andy, you asked the question, nobody else did. So this is exactly what it is. When you put your head down, the whole goal is to basically contact as many people as you possibly can as fast as you can. Now, the understanding is that you want to, and I'm talking personally, to build a momentum, you're trying to sponsor about 20 people personally. Now, for someone that's got a great skill set, that might be 20 people. Say they've already been in the industry as long as I have. If I was going to another company today and had to do it all over, I could call 20 strategic people and get 20 people signed up. My head leaders. But let's talk about brand new people. Brand new that never done this business before, never done this blitz. You want to be able to build a thing called momentum, and you can't build the momentum by onesie and twosies over a period of a week. So if you just got one home meeting, or you got one weekly meeting, or even 2 weekly meetings, you're exposing maybe 5 or 6 people. You're getting 1 person, 2 people a week. This is painful. So what you want to do, and you were at the GoPro last year, right?
Yes.
Well, Holton Buggs even talked about this, that he was going to go through every single phone number that he had, and they were either getting in or he was throwing them away. Mm-hmm. And so, I've been blessed a number of times. It's been the first time I got in and I didn't have a warm market. It was all cold market. The next time was with ACN and my blitz in ACN. My next time was a blitz that I did in Tahitian Noni. Then the next one was a blitz that I did in Pro Travel Network. I made over 50,000 in my first 50 days. It had just like a same kind of coding bonus as ACN did. And believe it or not, I did it all from my home. That's no home meetings, no three-way calls, no nothing. That was all just calling, smiling and dialing, and throwing people in front of YouTube videos. And then my next blitz was with Gano Excel in January 2009. And so, you know, you throw so many people in so fast and you contact people so quick, so fast that you got 20 people personally sponsored. Now, once you got those 20 people, you got a game plan of saying, hey, I'm going to go to the Grand Poobah position, and I'm looking for 5 people or 4 people, depending on the compensation plan you have, and I need these people to go to the Poobah position, so I can hit Grand Poobah. And the Poobah position is I'm going to lock in with you, Andy, and I'm going to stay with you until you get to a full-time income. Now, this income is right around $10,000 in my opinion. You know, to other people, it could be more, it could be less. But I know when you get someone a consistent $10,000 check for a period of 3 months, you got them. You really, really got them. And some people go, well, I've never gotten there. Well, you better find a mentor that can help you then. And so my deal was I pushed so hard in the last time I did this that we put 600 people in the first 60 days. All right? So the next thing is not only do you put those 20 people, but now you're trying to find out of those 20 people, which might end up being anywhere between 5 and 4, that are going to go wide open with you and just do what you just did in your first 2 or 3 weeks to a month. So that's why it turns into a 90-day game plan, because if I just hit a position called Poobah or Diamond, say for instance, and I got my checks to $2,000 a week, $3,000 a week, then I need to stay in the game until I get 4 or 5 people out of the 20 to do it the next month. You see what I mean? So now I'm at 10 grand. Now I got 4 or 5 people in the next 30 days, and that might take, and I call them one-on-ones or two-on-ones. It's face-to-face, doing the game plan, telling them the same story that if they jump in, they can make 10 grand a month within their first 90 days. And what you're telling them is that's like 145 to 150 one-on-ones or two-on-ones that you're doing and that next blitz. Now, depending on how fast you find your 20, Andy, that could be the remainder of your second 30 days, which ends up to be in your second part of your next 60 days. Does that make sense? Or you might have locked into your last 20 in the last week of the month, so then you're pushing to the next 60 days. But if you're not doing 140 to 150 one-on-ones and two-on-ones with the 6 or 7, the 4 or 5 that made the decision out of the 20, you're not in a blitz. You're flat out freaking lying to yourself. So you were around when you seen this happen. You know, my butt was in the office till 8, and I got out of there. I was the first people there, last person there. And all I did is I had my whole entire organization bringing me as many people as I can. Now, did we do one big meeting? Of course we did. But this didn't stop me from doing the 140, 150 one-on-ones, two-on-ones, sitting at a desk, writing out the game plan, telling them where we're going to go. Now, here's where people mess up. This is where your income now, and some people are going to crack up because they go, listen, dude, I've never even seen that. But if you build that kind of momentum, this is where your checks can get in the 20s, 20, 25,000, because you now got 3 or 4 people out of the 6 that really did get close to that 10 grand. Now you want to grab their people underneath there, Andy, and go one more 30-day launch. You want to try to get at least one person that makes between 5 to 10,000 underneath each one of your 4 to 6. If you can do that, the momentum ends up going so good that, you know, when me and Jordan and Jeff Roberti and all of us were talking about this, which, by the way, this year before the GoPro event, there's actually a thing called the 6-Figure Summit. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a summit for 2 days where all 6-figure earners, and you got to pay $500 to get in, and you got to document that you made 6 figures in a year, and all 7-figure earners get in free. And so it's going to be fun to sit around with those people because everybody says they got their game plans, but every one of us did that kind of burst wide open. Another one, which is an exact identical, was when I ran an ad in the Detroit Press. I found this beautiful girl named Lynn Martinez, and she didn't have a dime to her name. She just got laid off from a grocery store. What I put in my ad so everybody stopped freaking out. It was unbelievable, and underneath there it said ex-auto mechanic, X29, ex-29-year-old auto mechanic, now makes 6 figures a year looking for 5 people and a telephone number. And it was under sales/assistant managers. And I believe that she was like an assistant manager. So she comes down, answers the ad. She couldn't have been 22, 23 years old. And I'm a whopping 29, right? And she doesn't have any money. And I said, listen, don't worry about that right now. Who do you know that is the biggest hustler? And she says, well, my boyfriend owns a landscaping company, and his twin brother is selling insurance. Well, that's where I met Mike and Tony Kupas. Well, when they came in, I moved into their flipping apartment. People going, well, what do you do to build a leader? I don't know. Tell them to show up at a Saturday and abandon them? No. You know, so I moved in with Tony and Mike into their apartment, and I did one-on-ones and two-on-ones all day from the time that Fridays opened up till the time that Fridays closed us out.
That's exactly how you should do it, for real.
Yeah, and so, you know, so all the names that you guys have heard out there, big names in this industry that now run their own companies. I mean, we were just putting people in like crazy until, you know, we did one meeting a week, and we did one meeting a week within our first 2 weeks, and that was out of their apartment. We totally filled their apartment. But that's not a coffee break. That's not a home meeting. That's a launch for your group. And the next thing we did is we all put money in and leased an office. So at one time in my career, I had 22 offices that had an average of 10 to 12 people in each office, full time. Jeez. So there's an example of a blitz. The only one other thing I would like to say to that is that when you go to that 3-tier, because a lot of people were around when I did this last, you know, so my story didn't matter. You know, so we went all of January, February, and March, and on April 6th, my son's birthday, he hit Diamond in Gano Excel, and his checks were $3 grand a week, and we went down and got him a new BMW. And so there was the story. You know what I mean? And so the only way that my son could have got to my position is if he would have had 4 of those stories, 2 on his left side, 2 on his right side. You see what I mean? So I'm still building a leg. So, of course, you know, you've heard of Alberto Martinez. That was my next leg. And then, of course, Scott and Matt was my other leg. So that ended up being my son's power leg. And I don't know of anyone that he drove to 10,000 on that pay side.
Wow.
See, so, but, you know, so that little 90-day blitz, that turned into like a 6-month thing because we kept just running it. I mean, that made me over $7.5 million.
Good Lord, have mercy.
I'm still making money off that blitz.
Wow, yeah, I remember you did it like that the whole the whole year actually when you did the meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting and meeting. I don't know if you remember that my friend was spent like the whole like literally a whole day with you. Well, not a whole day, a couple hours.
Remember, I leased a place for a year within almost walking distance of the office. Remember that?
Yeah, the Susan. That was a good place.
Yeah, and you guys always used the jacuzzi there. That was fun. That was like the biggest jacuzzi ever, yeah.
Yeah, there was like a I was gonna say it can fit about 20 Asian girls in there, probably. Because they're all skinny. A twig.
Or 3 girls that I know. No, I'm kidding.
we're not gonna go there today.
Okay.
Maybe that's over another dinner conversation. Yeah, no, I remember that when your son got his car and the M3, and I tell him this day, till this day, I was like, I wish you'd have kept the M3. You would have had the most badass M3 on the planet.
Yeah, can you imagine if he took all the money that he had on the 550 and put into his M3? That would have been cool.
That would be insane. Yeah,
But we all change. I don't know where they put, him and Amy, where they would put Ryder's baby seat in the M3.
No, there's a four-door. There's a four-door M3. That's why I told them. Okay. Sorry. What was your highest monthly income in your career of network marketing, and what kind of mindset and leadership skills did it take to get to $1 million a year, which is $83,000 a month?
Right. Biggest month I ever had was $212,000.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So $212,000 for that month was it's still a shocker. I still want to beat it today. I don't know. That's probably the competitive part of it. And you know what? It's really like living a dream. It really is, because when you finally get your income to that kind of amount, it's like, so you started traveling, great. Then you bought nice things, great. And you're out of debt, great. You, because of the years that you struggled, you finally catch up on all your taxes. It's funny. I tell people you finally become a real person, when your registration and your driver's license and your insurance card all has the same address. And it's yours, you know what I mean? And so, when that money starts coming in and you can start really doing some nice things, plus putting a lot away in savings and doing investments, going into that fourth quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki talks about. Yeah, that's when it really, really becomes like, wow, I really pulled it off. And yeah, the mindset is similar to what Jim Rohn talks about. The first two times that kind of money got close, I made like $78,000 in NSA and like in the 80s with ACN, and when the income got there, I never thought it was going to stop. So Jim Rohn always talks about, hey, regardless of what happens in your life, winter's coming. And so, and Think and Grow Rich talks about, you lose all your money twice before you keep it. And so, the time that I've been in 15 different companies. So, there ended up times when the money was coming in so fast, so quick, that I was trying to catch up on stuff, plus enjoying myself and making sure my family got rewarded for the sacrifices that we went through. And then something would happen to the company, and then I wouldn't have enough in storage. I didn't have anything in harvest. And so, Gano Excel, then going into Gano Life, it was that was a whole different thing. I had a little bit of stored up in the what is it, the winter houses or whatever.
Yeah, that was good times. Very, very good times during the 4 years. And I remember that when there was like nothing in that warehouse. You remember that? There was nothing in the warehouse. There was no stage. There was no TVs. There was no stands around different countries. There was no offices.
No product.
It was just a desk and a phone.
No product.
Yeah, not even a product.
No product. When I resigned from Kiani, I was walking in a place in the back where it said, employees only, and Efren was back there. And so when I walked back there was a small little tent, and I went left, and I was resigning from Kiani, and I walked around the corner, and there wasn't any products in any of the shelves.
Yeah.
And as soon as I resigned, I called up Joe and I said, "What's the deal?" And he goes, trust me, there's product coming." And I think it was like not even 2 weeks later, there was all these ship containers that were setting out in front of the warehouse. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that was definitely good times. So I know that you have built a huge following. So basically, like, no matter where you go, I'm pretty sure people will follow you. What is the secret to build a loyal following?
Care. Just care. Build a relationship. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. You know, people, for whatever reason, I've learned all of this in my career through leadership, is sometimes people can't say no. And so what they do is they make promises and then they fall out on those. I can't, for example, I can't imagine not showing up on this interview for you. You know, there's some leaders out there that are just, you know, I don't know where their heads are. I guess I don't know how you can call letting people down and using the word leader in the same paragraph. It shouldn't even be in the same sentence. And so there's a rule of thumb. Again, I learned from Bill, how would I feel if, and how would I act if? And so it's the golden rule. You just want to treat people the way that you want to be treated. You know, and if you treat them good, you're always there for them. You know, make sure that you recognize maybe their birthday. Always make sure that you take the time to let them know that you care about them. You know, I don't think, how long have you and I known each other, Andy?
5 years.
Have I ever asked you what your volume was?
No, not once.
So you might consider me more of a friend than someone that's trying to beat you up for you trying to figure it out when you want to figure it out.
True.
So you've never not been welcome in my home. You've never been not welcomed around me. And I know some people that, man, if they felt like you wasn't producing that week or that month, then you know what? You don't deserve to be around them. And I'm going like, you know, I remember there's companies. I left at the height of my career. I got an award from ACN for being outstanding RVP of the year for the year 2000. And because of what one of the ACN owners did for me, I walked. So there was a quarter there where I was #1 in customers and also trainers for the whole entire company worldwide. And just because of the way he treated me, I said, listen, I'm out of here.
Jeez.
So don't do that.
Yeah. One thing that I learned from Holton Bugs last year on GoPro was he said the one thing, he said, don't be a friend for the volume.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, so I don't know, you know, I just, how you build a loyal following is you just care. I mean, all these interviews that I've been doing with all these people that I'm meeting for the first time, there's nothing crazier for them to say is, I can't believe that you took the time to let me do an interview. I'm nobody. Well, I can remember when I met Bill. Bill treated me like I was somebody before I was a producer.
Man, I hope that these guys are taking notes on the call because there's some golden nuggets in here. So we've always heard that, I mean, in network marketing in general, we've always heard that a company is going to be the next $1 billion. Next $1 billion in sales, next $1 billion in revenue, and whatever, million reps, so on and so on.
Yeah.
What do you think, what is your opinion, what do you think that it takes for a company to reach that milestone in terms of either product or corporate leadership or just field leadership? What does it take for a company to reach $1 billion in revenue?
Remember when I said to you that what people don't get is you can't stop learning, you know? So the skill set to get to $5,000 a month is not the skill set that it takes to get to 10, is not the skill set that it takes to get to 25 or 50. See, it's a whole different skill set. And what people are not willing to do is they're not willing to recognize that. So there's companies out there, and I won't say any names, but you can see where they just all of a sudden just freeze around 300 or 400,000, or maybe they freeze at 100,000. And I'm sorry, 100 million. So they freeze at 100 million and they don't go any further. They freeze at 500 million and they don't go any further. Well, if your constant line isn't doing this, and it doesn't have to be drastic. I mean, if anyone knows anything about stocks, if a company is growing 3 to 4% a year, that is freaking huge, you know, and if you can sustain it over a period of time. So the way the company would have to hit $1 billion is, in my opinion, there would have to be somebody in the CEO, the leadership positions, that have taken the time to learn the new skills to get that company there. And I could give you, you know, example after example after example where here's one of my favorite examples is everyone's probably heard of a company called Yahoo. You know what I mean? Well, the two guys that started that company knew they had the technical knowledge. They knew how to do everything. But then when they wanted to make it go bigger, what they did is they called themselves founders and chief Yahoos. Can you imagine having the humbleness to call yourself a chief Yahoo? And they hired a CEO that had background from Wharton Business School. You know what I mean? That was already a way up in Hasbro toys. You know what I mean? They took the time to find someone that had that kind of CEO mentality where they understood international. She was probably a part of a fraternity that had networks all over the world. She could pick up the phone and say, hey, where's one of my sorority sisters in London? Where's my sorority sister in China? Where, you know what I mean? And people just don't understand the kind of knowledge that you got to have to get your company to that next spot. So that's one example of how you get to $1 billion, where these two guys were humble enough to say, I don't have what it takes. All the leaders that are around me don't like me. So I got to find a way to step away and hire someone that can take our company to the next level. Then you got another example, which is Mark Zuckerberg. And they even said this, where Mark Zuckerberg was in a close, intense meeting. There was only 9 people in the room. And one of the closest friends he's got, which is now the youngest billionaire on the planet, called him out, and he thought he was going to get fired. And he just basically said to Mark Zuckerberg, you have absolutely no leadership skills in any way, shape, or form to take this company to $1 billion company international. And you need to do 2 things. You need to hire someone that can do it, or you need to take some time off and frickin' learn the skills that you need. Because they knew they were just spinning their wheels and they wasn't going anywhere. And Mark Zuckerberg got upset, walked out of the room. They said he came back in 15 minutes, and he goes, you're absolutely right. And what he did is he started calling colleges and asking colleges if there was any people that ran multi-billion-dollar companies that he could sit down with and do some mentoring with. And look where Facebook is today. So it takes a hell of a person to say, I don't have what it takes to get this to the next step. And I can say some other names out there, like, you know, isn't it hilarious that you look at Monavie, and Monavie just took off and went like this, and then they got to a point and then everybody left the company. Well, I don't know why that is, and I wasn't internally inside that company. But I can say that the person had the knowledge to be able to put together some cool, neat promotions and all kinds of neat little games to get a bunch of leaders over there. But once they brought the volume, he didn't know the next step. So isn't it funny that that individual is now retired?
Yes.
So for that company to continue to go, there were probably a bunch of people that are sitting around saying, listen, I'm not going to the next level until somebody else is running this ship. I'm sick and tired of it. And at one time, they looked like they were the Holy Grail. And then all of a sudden, the same thing happened to Visalis.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to see. So now all of a sudden, I heard the owner of Visalis finally, you know, he thought the best thing to do is go out there and get a bunch of investors in his company. And, you know, and then all of a sudden, the investors, Blythe says, hey, you know what? Yeah, the only thing that counts is stockholders. Nothing else counts but stockholders. And so now I heard through the rumor mill that, you know, that those people bought their company back.
They did, yes.
But now is the guy that's running it, isn't his name Blair?
Ryan Blair.
Yeah. Let's see if he's got the humbleness
skill, yeah,
to get rid of his ego and learn what it's going to take to rebuild that company.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Interesting. So great question. You know, it's yeah. It takes some really special leadership skills. I don't know if you've ever seen it. We don't have time to go in this interview, but if people want it, you can ask for it. But it's called The 5 Laws of Decline. and I'll send you the 5 laws of decline. And when people read them, sometimes they go, "Oh my God, the company I'm with is doing all 5 at the same time."
That's funny. Wow, that's a great answer. Awesome answer.
Right, you're asking some awesome questions, smart questions.
Yeah, I want to get deep today. You know what I mean? So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone that's, let's say, brand new to network marketing versus someone that has been in a profession for a long, long time, let's say 10, 20 years, and they're still struggling to make it happen? What would you tell that person? What is the difference?
The key, the bottom line key is the person that's mentoring you. It's all of it. I'm going to find a way to get this, and Andy, if you're a genius and can figure this out, or someone else that's on here, I'll be indebted to you forever. On Showtime, 60 Minute Sports, the newest episode had the Manning brothers on there, and so is it Eli and Peyton, right? Do you know that Eli and Peyton every year go back to the same coach that taught them how to be quarterbacks from the time that they started being quarterbacks?
No.
Every year they go back to the same guy that taught them. So without giving the whole story away, Peyton, messed up his neck, you know what I mean? And so the Colts had to let him go. And they thought that, all of a sudden they got to figure out how to fix it. They couldn't, so he had to have a second surgery and get them fused together. Peyton, without telling anybody, called up his coach and sent him some videos of him practicing. And his coach, listen to this. There's probably no one, I won't say no one, virtually no one that ever watches this video would do this. We're talking about a coach that taught 2 brothers not only to win a Super Bowl, but also MVPs. And Peyton Manning was doing videos of himself, sending it back to his coach, and his coach said, your mechanism is all wrong. You're going to ruin your shoulder. You're going to ruin your elbow. Well, what should I do? Put your career on hold for a year and come down to my college and let me teach you how to throw all over again. And you might think that I'm full of crap. Watch it. And so Peyton said he went all the way back. They went all the way to basics, and the coach re-showed him how to throw a football. His best game he's ever had when he won the Super Bowl, they took the Duke football team and duplicated every frickin' play that he did during that perfect game. And they did it over and over and over to reprogram Peyton so he knew how to throw to win a Super Bowl again. After they did that and rebuilt his whole career, he went on as a walk-on to the Denver Broncos. And we all know the rest of the story.
And then they beat my Patriots.
But the point that you brought up is from the brand new person getting in, having no clue, having some person out there that doesn't know what they're doing, getting them excited about the product, getting them excited about the testimonial, getting them excited about the comp plan, getting them excited about the company's story or the owner's stories, blah, 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 blah. Without a mentor teaching you to be successful, you're hosed. So what would I say to a 10-year veteran like you, Andy? Is you got to find a mentor and you got to sell out. You got to sell out. Peyton Manning's probably got a little more bigger reputation than you and I.
I'm pretty sure they do.
And the reason that I'm telling that story is because people can get it and find it for me so I could show it to my group and team, because I just think it's so important. I'm doing it right now. What I do when things are not going well for Robert Hollis is I'm going to a $10,000 seminar for 5 days in New York with Brendan Bouchard. I'm going to a $10,000 seminar with Jeff Walker. I'm going to a breakthrough and going learning from Eric Worre. I'm the kind of guy that I'm always polishing my skills and I'm always learning from people. And I don't ask them to give me free tickets or give me free anything. I pay for the tickets and I show up and look at, who was the second person to do a review on my book? Well, the first video review was Eric Worre.
Saw that.
Before it was even printed.
Yeah.
Before my book was even ever printed, Eric Worre did a review, and it's still on his website today because he was the first person to download it off Kindle and do a video book review for me. And people are going, you know, I know some people that watch this video where you can't get a leader like Eric Worre to do anything for you because you're a taker.
Ah, I remember that. Taker, fighter, and giver.
Yeah, you're a taker. So, I mean, you're not going to get his attention by asking him to do stuff for you. Gary Vaynerchuk last year, you know, called up Eric. Eric called him up and said, Gary, you know, I want you to come speak. And he goes, well, how long? I do this thing for about an hour because I'm promoting my book. And Eric said, you got 45 minutes. And Gary goes, what are you going to pay me? And he says, you're promoting a book, aren't you? Yeah, I'll let you promote the book. What do you mean you're not going to pay me? I ain't paying you a frickin' dime. You want to promote your book in front of all our people? Yeah, then show your ass up. And if anyone was there, you know, you could tell that Gary Vaynerchuk was pissed off because this guy that he charged 10 grand, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk charged Eric Worre $10,000 to mentor him. And 3 years later, he's speaking on Eric's stage for free, and Eric tells him you only got 45 minutes.
But yeah, no, I started to watch Ask Gary V. That's the show on YouTube, and he's a good guy. Great show.
He's awesome. I like him.
Yeah, he's real. Like in your face.
I have no idea how to do Twitter, but I like him.
Me either. I just, I mean, I'm Asian and I can't figure this video stuff out. So.
Hey, we got it. We got it figured out.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. So, how do you feel when someone call you their mentor?
Humbling. Humbling. A lot of responsibility. Too much is given, much is required. Mm-hmm. I take it very serious. Very serious. On the other hand, sometimes people use my name like they might use Bill Gould's name, you know, to say, hey, I'm being, you know, I know Robert Hollis, or I personally, you know, was taught under Robert Hollis trying to get some favors because they're still takers. You know what I mean? If I was using my mentor's name, I'd want to make sure that he's proud of me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Who does Robert Hollis listen to in the morning to sharpen his axe before he starts his daily method of operation?
A lot of people. When I first get up, I pray. I like to meditate. So then I listen to personal development, and that could be that is way too fast to say on this show. From still listening to stuff that I have recorded from Bill Gould, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, anybody that I can find, man. There's some really crazy cats out there that, you know, people wouldn't even know the name. I have the first original recording of Errol Scholz that was the mentor of Jim Rohn. Mm-hmm. And I'll randomly be on the airplane and I'll listen back to that one. There's a lot of people that I treat right now as virtual mentors. You know, so if they're out there producing stuff, I want to know what they're doing. I love learning from, a Todd Falcone. I think he's incredible. I'll be doing like a webinar with him, I think, next Monday. Mm-hmm. And, Ray Higdon. I've done a number of conference calls with Ray Higdon. I think Lisa Grossman is just, again, she comes from a whole different angle. Incredible. Eric Worre. I can't even believe I didn't even say Eric Worre. But it's like, I can't listen to enough stuff. And even on a spiritual level, Andy, I got a lot of stuff that, I think I've shared with you, Washed by the Word. You know what I mean? I got a lot of stuff on a spiritual level. And I might even just listen to some songs. I got like Howard Hewitt, Say Amen, Follow Your Dreams. I listen to a lot of music that is, really super uplifting. And even like movies, you know what I mean? That just, Field of Dreams or The Peaceful Warrior, you know, Rudy, yeah, just, man, I'm totally always amping up myself. But, you know, great question, great question.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's people that actually followed you and called you their mentor for the past, let's say, 20 plus years in this profession of now marketing, direct sales, whatever it is. What do you say to those that are still struggling until this day that has been following you all this time?
Don't give up. Don't give up. I'm learning new stuff all the time. I tell this story, one of the biggest breakthroughs I've had in the last year that's really helped me to be who I am today is, you know, I was having troubles with my kidneys, and Amy Neidig, you know, my son's fiance, she was one time said to me, and she said, well, listen, I just recently read this book called The Code to Joy.
Ooh.
And so she gave me the book, and I started reading it, but right away I like looking at the author and going on the internet and doing my research, because I like learning from documented people. It's just a trait that I learned a long time ago. It's like someone says, hey, listen to this. I'd rather find out what they've done for other people before I want to put their stuff in my head. You know, a definition of another definition of a leader is what people say about them when they're not around. And so I found out that, yeah. And so Dr. Pratt had all these videos online, you know, and one of his biggest success stories is Robert, it's not Robert, but it's, I think it's Robert Dyrdek.
Rob Dyrdek, yes.
Rob Dyrdek. And so Rob Dyrdek is one of his testimonials on there where he said, you know, I just couldn't find a way to get in the top 5, and someone told me to, I think it was Tony Hawk, told Rob Dyrdek to go down to Dr. Pratt and have Dr. Pratt get in his head.
Yeah.
And so Amy said, maybe you're hanging on to something. Maybe something's bothering you, and maybe you should go find out what it is. So when I heard that he was in La Jolla, and he sits on the board of the Scripps Medical Hospital down there, I called him up and set an appointment, went down, spent 3 hours with him. And wow, just, you know, he definitely gave me the thoughts and the skills to feel worthy and confident enough and stop being scared, where I know that Robert Hollis now can do $100 million a year, no problem. And there was a lot of little things that I didn't realize that I was holding on to, that I was thinking about being unworthy or something like that. And he showed me a couple of tools and got rid of it. So, you know, I still haven't been to a Tony Robbins seminar, but there's some people out there that are called peak performance coaches. And you know, Andy, if you were talking about somebody else in this scenario, or even talking about yourself, that's what I would suggest. I would find somebody and find out what it would cost to go spend a very limited time with somebody like that could figure out what the hell's holding you back. You know, sometimes I can talk to people and I can get to it, you know, because I've really, you know, worked on those skills. But, you know, sometimes you need a mentor and a professional.
Yeah.
The first thought that came to my mind when you said that is don't attempt this at home. One more quick story. Did you know that Rob Dyrdek, now he's successful like nobody's business, right? And then remember he had a cousin of his named Drama?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Drama.
Yeah, there's an episode on the Fun Factory or whatever it's called.
Fantasy Factory.
Fantasy Factory. And it shows Rob Dyrdek, Drama staring at a wall in a small office that he gave him. And he's like, what are you doing? And he says, well, I don't know. And he says, well, listen, you got me, I got my name, I got money, I got everything. What do you want to do? I don't know. And he goes, I've had it with you. We're going. You're going to go see Dr. Pratt. And the whole episode, you could probably, you know, for your watchers out here, find it. And he drags Drama to Dr. Pratt. Dr. Pratt gets in his head, shows him a couple of neat little skills to do. Now he owns $1 million clothing line.
Yep, Young and Reckless.
So, you know, yeah, go find someone that can get in your head.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah. Now,
so when are you going?
Huh?
No.
Oh, I just got a couple of questions, a couple more. That's all.
I flipped this on you. Everybody's going, Wait a minute. I thought it was Andy talking to Robert Hollis. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. What is on Robert Hollis's dream board?
Wow. My dream board right now, and I'm looking at it. My dream board is I will be a pilot. I'm still dealing with my kidney issues, so I got to get a medical release. But I will be a pilot, and I will fly my own Lear, my own personal jet. That probably will start out like a small personal jet and work up to a Gulfstream. And I still like cars. I'd like to sponsor a NASCAR in the future. And I like to my little goal is I want to be known as helping 1 million people. I want to inspire them and train and motivate them, and I want to do what my mentor started out to do. I want to take Success in Minutes, and I want to be able to upbring people in that are some of the most noticed and best speakers in the world. And I want to help them build their brands. I want to take people that I feel there's a lot of leaders out there right now, Andy, in network marketing that have golden handcuffs. They're some of the most incredible trainers and speakers in the world. And if they tried to step out from that company to even go speak at an Eric Worre event, they would lose their check. And I just find that so sad. I did a video where it's time for change. It's definitely time for change. And if I could build a platform, when I build, you see me using my words here, when I build a platform that I could call up one of those people and say, listen, what do you make a month? And they say 40, 50,000. And I'm going, listen, I got a new job for you. We're going to come over here and brand you. And I'm going to help them brand themselves and not only pay them, but then also help them put a corporation together that I own part of. So I want to be a part owner of like 50 people and help them build their brand worldwide.
Wow. That's a big goal.
I'm going to be the Jay-Z of personal development.
Hey.
Swing! I never said that before.
The Jay-Z of that's cool. What vision do you have for Unlimited Profits in, let's say, 15 years?
In 15 years, the vision that I have for the company is like you said, that's going to take some really good skills and me being humble to continue to learn if I'm going to continue to run the company. But I don't know if I ever shared with you the Blue Man Group thought. There was Tony Robbins is one of the people out there that always talks about mirroring and modeling. Find a mentor. He, tutelage under Jim Rohn for 10 years. And he's worth $400 million. Now, what Dean Jackson, he put together a program called the New Money Makers, and he interviewed Frank Kern and Evan Pagan and Jeff Walker and all these people. And when he talked to Dean Jackson, that's an online marketer for real estate, Dean Jackson said, "You're the one that showed me how to design a perfect day through your audio CDs." And he says, "I can't believe what your day is like." And Tony went, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, you're like Siegfried and Roy. Say you're a multi-$100-million brand like Mayweather is, But if something happens to you, the brand's gone. So Siegfried and Roy shows up. They're a $100 million, $200 million brand. The Tiger's not happy one day, and the brand's gone." He said, "If you're going to design a day, I want Unlimited Profits 15 years from now to look like Blue Man Group." So if people go to an Unlimited Profits, or the seminar will be called Unlimited Wisdom, if anyone worldwide goes to one of those seminars, they're going to be known as some of the top breakthrough seminars in the world. But it's not going to be based off Robert Hollis. The people that are going to be on the stage are going to be the superstar. So like Blue Man Group, you go to, so you got 3 guys, going to college in New York, and they've designed their day as, what if we could put this act together that's incredible entertaining and people want to see it, but we're not going to talk and we're going to paint our faces with blue latex so people don't know who we are. So your watchers, after watching this video, could go on Google and they could put in Blue Man Entertainment. And isn't it funny that this weekend they're in Vegas, they're also in Miami, they're also in New York, they're also in Chicago, they're also in Paris, they're in Billings, Montana. They got groups that travel around to little places like Billings, Montana. And guess what? Everyone's watching this entertaining act because those three guys can teach that to three of anybody that want to be entertainers. So now they're a billion-dollar brand like Cirque du Soleil. The guy that started Cirque du Soleil is not interested in performing, being the deal. So, you know, I actually learned from a guy that wanted to be the deal. So he would only allow us to come up to a certain level, and then if we didn't continue to, you know, kiss the ring on the finger and the Holy Grail, well, then guess what? If people, I know I'm getting deep here, you said to go deep, art of war, that's why companies fall apart right there. Because that second tier and third tier of leadership want to be on stage. They want to be the entertainer. And when there's someone that won't allow them to build their brand, they will leave and they will go build their brand. It just isn't going to be with your company anymore. So, you know, and I see network marketing companies changing right now. You know, you look at Vima, they're not ashamed that Bob Proctor is their man. They're not ashamed. You know, so what's his name? Brian Tracy, I forget what company he's with. And then the two guys that did the chicken soup for the soul, Jack Canfield is with one company, and the other guy, Mark Vincent Hansen's with another company. There's network marketing companies, in my opinion, that are intelligent, are going to start outsourcing leadership training for their leaders. That's what's going to happen. So the companies that want to stay at, you know, $50 to $100 million for the rest of their life, they're going to allow people just to continue with their egos and stifle the leadership. And the companies that are going to hit $1 billion and go past $1 billion are going to be companies that are going to find the best trainers in the world and make sure their leaders get in front of it.
Yeah, and just smack them around a little bit.
Yep.
Okay, a couple more questions, Vince, and that's it. So I know you homeschool Matt and Kyle. Okay?
Yeah.
So why do you think that the public schools and universities nowadays don't make it a mandatory act for students to read books like Think and Grow Rich, Science of Getting Rich, The Art of War, and the government continue to preach about job security when they know there is none? Why do they do that? Why do you think?
People are scared of change. Andy, they're just flat out scared of change. We're people in general are, you know, the phrase that I love saying to people, if what you know isn't true, when do you want to know? See, everybody says, I want to know now, but they really, really don't want to know. They don't want to know. And so when you don't want to know, but you say that you want to know, that means that you don't want to hear it because even though you hear it, you're not ready for change. So you can't change what you don't acknowledge. And so, you know, the people that are teaching business classes and arranging our school system that's over 200 years old, they won't do the very same thing that we've said a number of times during this deep conversation, is they're not willing to relearn. Here's the system that we've had for 200 years, and we are not freaking going to change it. It's like it's nuts. And I tell people, you want to hear the biggest reason I made a decision to homeschool my sons was based on my own personal experience. See, they didn't know how to diagnose that I was dyslexic. And so when I was young, I couldn't pronounce certain words. So they would show me a card, and it would say thumb on it. And I would say tum. And then when they go, okay, so what's this sound? And they would hold up a TH. And I would go, and they go, so what's this word? And I'd say tum. They didn't understand that I couldn't see the H. So I was learning disability. I had a learning disability. And I had to go see a speech therapist. and I was put in special classes. I was freaking awesome in math, awesome in science. No one gave a shit. They all focus on what I was weak at. And so the whole world looked at me as being this special kid that didn't have a lot to offer because I wasn't good in one of the 6 or 7 subjects that they thought I was supposed to be good at. Homeschooling allows you to figure out your personality and figure out what your strengths are. And now you just get to focus on what your strengths are. I believe that college should be that way. I believe that all of schools should be that way. Kids should find out, people should find out what kids love to do, because then it's not work. They become passionate, and they put in an above amount of hours into things that they love to do. When you find people that want to sing or want to dance or want to be a football or basketball player, and you ask them how much they practice, they go, "Why do you want to know?" That's such a stupid frickin' thing to ask me. Because they love what they wanted to do and they want to win it. They don't care if they put in 16 or 18 hours a day. That's not a problem. But boy, trying to work on something that you suck at just rips your spirit and soul right out of your body. So,
man,
was that okay?
You should go speak at schools and they should charge.
Well, because of Mikel Pradier, I've gotten to speak at the college a couple of times. So.
Yeah, that was fun. That was great. Last question right here.
Okay.
You know that, I mean, not you know, the upcoming GoPro convention, the lineup this year is ridiculous. I mean, you saw the lineup. And they just added Kiyosaki and Pose Pilsen and
yeah.
Kevin Thompson and President of Direct Sales. It's as you can see, there's a wave, there's a shift moving, you know, from the world, but like everybody's waking up, but like, you know,
yep.
waking up. And what do you think the future for this profession is going to be at for the next 10 or 20 years?
It's just going to continue to grow. It's going to be so mainstream. It's going to be, people are going to be talking about network marketing like they're now talking about franchising. So if someone walked up into any circles whatsoever and they go, "What do you do?" and they say, "Well, I own a couple of Subway sandwich shops," people go, "Holy crap, good for you." That's awesome. You're an entrepreneur. How'd you pull that off? That's smart. That's the way they're going to look at network marketing, no doubt in my mind. So the whole world is going to start looking at circles of people who are professional network marketers. And, you know, believe it or not, Bill Gould told me this 27 years ago. He says, "Robert, you mastered the ability to teach others to be successful in this industry, and you're going to write your ticket for the rest of your life." And so when I heard that Harrington from Shark Tank and all these other people, believe it or not, the people that are going to be on the, a lot of people have done things on the documentary where they've actually done separate interviews that they're going to be doing to speak at this event. Les Brown's going to be there. Mm-hmm. And so I was telling people the other day that some people work 10 years or 20 years of their speaking career to say that I spoke on the same stage as Les Brown, that I spoke on the same stage as Robert Kiyosaki, you know, Harrington of Shark Tank, you know, Brian Tracy, Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, you know, I'm in those circles now. I'm in those circles. I'm speaking at the event. You know what I mean? And wow, is it humbling. Wow, is it humbling. And just because you did this, you know, this event, you know, I don't know how many people will see it, but I just got a letter today from Eric Worre. And basically, without going into the reading of it, he's basically got 30 tickets that he's slotted for me at a discount of $100 each. So just for your speaker, your people that have watched this video, if people will get a hold of me, I got till now, I think, on September 15th. Yeah, you'll see it right there, September 15th. This is not a little gig that we're doing here because you didn't know I was going to do this. But if people will contact me between now and September 15th, I'll place an order if you want a ticket for $100 to get. Without a doubt, this will be a sold-out event. So just let me know. Okay?
Yeah, but Man, thank you so much for spending nearly an hour with me, and I applaud for the people that actually got on and stayed on. You know, I mean, it was a deep, deep conversation and interview, and I loved every minute of it, and I hope you did too. And till next time, and thank you for watching, everybody. And this is Andy Chow, and thank you, Robert, again for taking the time out of your day, busy day.
Yeah.
And I love you and miss you, appreciate you, and I hope that you will come back to California soon.
Well, I just want everybody too that's watching this video. I just need you to know that Andy Chow, more than anything, is a very dear friend of mine. I love him like a son. And you know, if you guys find a way to hook up with Andy and get to know him a little more, me and him are always working directly together in something. So you know, so make sure to get to him to get to me. And if you guys watch this video, I love working with the man, and I know that one day he's going to be a rock star. There's no doubt in my mind.
Thanks, Robert. You're awesome.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Love ya.
Love you too.
See ya. Woo!
See ya.